Let me introduce myself again. My name is Yongpom Kim, Chairman of Council Steering Committee of Jeju Special Self-Governing Provincial Council. I would like to thank the chairman of councils nationwide for joining us and also traveling a long distance to get here. Thank you for even getting COVID-19 tested, and I would like to offer my apology if that caused a great inconvenience. And I would like to thank you again for your support. And I would like to introduce to you each chairman of a council. Please welcome Chung Tae Kim, Chairman of Council Steering Committee of Seoul Metropolitan Council. And please welcome Sang Chae Chung from the Chairman of the Council Steering Committee in Busan. Please welcome Shibok Lee from the Daegu Council Steering Committee. From Incheon Council Steering Committee, please welcome Cho Sung-hae. From Daejeon Metropolitan City, please welcome Yoon Jung-myeon, Chairman of Council Steering Committee. From Sejong Special Self-Governing Province, please welcome Kim, Chairman of Council Steering Committee in Sejong. From Gyeonggi Province Council, please welcome Chung Seung-hae, Chairman of Council Steering Committee. And Chungcheongbuk-do, please welcoming Lee Sang-min, Chairman of Council Steering Committee. From Gyeongsangnam-do Council, please welcome Shin Sang-dong, Chairman of Council Steering Committee. And from Jeju Provincial Council, please welcome Woo Young-mi. And next, let me introduce to you about the members of our advisory committees. Please welcome Chung Sung-yu, Chairman of Council Steering Committee of Jeollanam-do. Do we have a Chairman of Council Steering Committee in Gwangju? Please welcome Chairman of the Council Steering Committee in Gwangju. And please welcome Kim Yoon-suk, Member of Advisory Committee. And next, Kim Han-young, Member of Advisory Committee. Please welcome Monoki, Advisor again. And in order to, until our local government settles, yes, that has been long way that we have walked. And on the 10th of May, 1952, we established our local government, but because of the military coup in 1960, again, the local government system was dismantled, but the system was revived again later on. So on the anniversary of the 30th anniversary of the revival of the local government, we are celebrating, and thanks to the revision of the Local Autonomy Act, that law will take effect next year. And for the development of local council, it is the best the time that we have to put our together. We need to reduce the conflict, and we need to realize the local autonomy for the improvement of quality of our lives. We have to make our efforts. Again, thank you for making your efforts and being with us today. And let me start discussion now. First of all, we have a Professor Junhyun Hong, Professor of the Department of Public Service of the Chungang University. He is going to talk about exploring a new local government model according to the changing environment of the local autonomy. Please welcome him with a big hand. My pleasure to meet you. My name is Junhyun Hong, Professor of the Chungang University. I have 10 minutes, yes, which is very short to deliver my presentation. Somehow, I think I have a technical issue. I can't turn the page of my presentation. Oh, yes, it works now. So I would like to talk to you about the diversification of organization composition in a concept manner. In order to talk about that, first of all, I think we need to predict the future environment change for the local autonomy. And according to the changing environment, what kind of model and what kind of strategies that we need to have. So I think my presentation will open a chapter for you. So what's important to think about in terms of there were four elements here: demographic cliff, aging population, and the local institution, and also smart technology development and changing the concept of a resident and a community. As you can see from this bar graph, I'm sure you are well aware of what I'm trying to say. And when you look at this bar graph, I think it is all the more clear to understand. So it is about birth rate, total fertility rate, and it even includes a prediction. As you know, already Korea's total fertility rate was 0.87, and this year it will drop to 0.7, which is unprecedented. So we are faced by crisis in the birth rate. From 2028, the total population will decrease, it is expected. It might sound a far distant future, but it is not. So our total population will even go down below 40 million among the OECD countries. The total fertility rate is the lowest among the OECD countries. In addition to that, what is also equally serious is aging population. So this blue part is the population under the age of 14, and here older than the 50. So from 2025, we are entering the hyper-aged society. And again, what's more serious is a local extinction. This is a local extinction index last year, and especially provincial area and rural areas. The number of cities and municipalities at the brink of local extinction is increasing, and if this trend continues, it is likely that our population will decrease. And the number of non-metropolitan area is moving, and the trend is varied among municipalities. For example, Busan, Ulsan, and Gyeongnam. Centrality is weakening. The same can be said of Daegu and Gyeongbuk area. And in Gwangju and Jeonnam and Daejeon, Chungnam, trends are different. So when we talk about the outflow of the population from the non-metropolitan area, the trend is not the same. And also, you know that smart technology is getting developed, which brings about huge impact on our city areas. And again, the changes of the meaning of the resident and community will change. Now, the area of act or their living area will change. That will go beyond the geographical and physical space. Of course, the trend will be different in metropolitan, non-metropolitan area. And also community will move from offline to online. So what's the meaning of a resident? How will they live? And they will be more globalized, and they will live more online, and community will be formed online more and more. then the role of the voters will change. In the past, they only did in electing the heads of local government, but now they have become creators. Hierarchical concept is emerging. Then, according to that, how should we customize the type of local government? There are three keywords I'm thinking of. In the future, the model of the local government should be changed. Until now, I'm sure the participants are here today, we have many of them are council, but we need to break ourselves away from the frame of the council. So our local autonomy should be resident centered. For the last 30 years, thanks to the democratization, authority was transferred and shared. But I think we need to change the role of local autonomy. We need to place more focus on the quality of lives of residents. So we need to move away from the realm of politics to the realm of local community and social economy. And also administrative area will be diversified. I'm sure Jeju has special conditions. I think in the future, the administrative area will not be fixed. It will become diversified and flexible. And using the smart technology, we are likely to enter into hyper-connected society. So even administrative functions will become flexible. We are talking about hyper-metropolitan area, and I keep analyzing data. And according to the data analysis, we need to have more of the megacity coalition than the coalition of the metropolitan area. So again, we need to have a source for growth for local areas. And I have chosen 5 strategies. We have to reestablish the relationship between the metropolitan area and also municipalities. We need to share the function and roles of the local government. And today, we are here to discuss this. That's why there's a need for diversification of local government organization, because we need to really transfer authorities of the local government and municipalities, and there will be more need for administrative support and service. And it will not only be about the sharing the authority, but we also have to talk about council executive integrated system, which will be touched by speakers after me. There will be more need of the council executive integrated system. As I drew a diagram like that, it is more like a CEO type local autonomy. There are stakeholders, and stakeholders elect the executive panel, and they elect the head of the company CEO. So at the council, they are going to designate the chief administrator. And for that chief administrator, we are going to assign all the administrative affairs to the chief administrator. Is it possible? Yes, it is. As I mentioned before, we have to change the role of local government in a more functional way. We have to take away the political side from the council. We have to put more expertise as a administrator to the councils, and then local governments need to be promoted, because the administrative jurisdiction will be diversified as the concept of the provider of a public service. It will become more flexible. There are many ways to do that. So local government needs to be function specific. That needs to be done by the council. So according as it is guaranteed by revised Local Autonomy Act, I think local governments need to be active more and more. And at the same time, there should be horizontal cooperation between the local government. according to contract, but we do not have enough legal basis, and that's something that we need to discuss more. And lastly, as I mentioned, there's a democracy of a hierarchy developed. Even so, council will be shrunk? No, it's not. We need to enhance the connection between council and also local government. The residents are not consumers of services. They become co-creators as prosumers. We need to encourage them to do their part. So I'm going to spend a few seconds explaining about this. I mentioned the smart technology will be developed more and more, and there will be a service with more participation of a resident utilizing smart technology, and how we are going to promote a participatory budgeting system. This is application made by my student. It shows it is a map of a petition and complaint filed by resident. So it is a mapping of complaint. So using the mobile phone, resident can raise their opinions and their opinions are reflected. And that will be reflected upon the policy making. So this kind of change will happen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Hong, for your presentation. So you talked about the projection of a changing environment and also need for diversifying the local government composition. As you know, one-man-centered local autonomy is becoming problematic. It becomes a contentious issue, and also it comes under heavy criticism. So, as a way of sharing the power, for example, with the consent of the council, we can appoint a vice governor, and also some of the authorities over the human resources and the financial execution can be granted to the vice governor. By doing so, we can prevent the intervention from the head of the local government and also enhance the position of the vice governor. Not only that, HR committee and audit committee, we can make the committees independent from the head of the local government, and we can come up with administrative committee. Then the members of the committee need to be appointed by the head of the local government with the consent of the council. Thank you so much. And next speaker is Dr. And from the Presidential Committee on Autonomy and Decentralization. He's going to talk about need for diversification of organization of local government and direction of development. Please welcome Dr. Ann with a big hand.
Thank you very much, moderator. Due to the time constraint, as I prepared a lot of content in it, but I will shorten my comments. First, I think diversification is what we already know. I'll focus on the diverse cases that we have in Korea, so I'll introduce those cases. Then I'll move on to how we can develop it further, which is a really big issue. The Ministry of Interior and Safety, it is initiated next year, so I will focus on the diversification as it is the study focused by the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, which will be published in November this year. But we'll share some opinions on that. So as we also are part of that proposal. So initially, maybe we will go to the way that we can easily operate it, but in a bigger picture, to what way we can go forward, the direction is something that I want to share. So I will just give the issue raising. To tell you the truth, the diversification is for the check and balance and also for the principle of the local government. Then by itself, it is to follow the principle of the power separation and also once again, check and balance. And for autonomy, it can make its own decision by in itself. It's that control power that one can have by diversification of the local government agencies. That's the basic understanding you can have. And for the advanced countries, Germany, England, US, European countries, and Japan are some examples that I want to share. That kind of discussion also have been on in Korea as well. As we can see the history of our diversification in the past, you can see that we have initiated various type of the local government types, but we are not using the legal basis to do it as a support. But in partial sense, we have HR management and audit system, but in a bigger picture, we have to have a systemic direction to go forward. So looking into the case of the UK, for example, Scotland, Wales, and North Ireland, they have their own local government under which they have their own unitary authorities. They don't have any hierarchy inside. So they have various types of agency composition of the local government. It is not symmetric, it's asymmetric, catered to the situation and the condition of the local conditions. They have four different types of local government that are they have combined authorities and also have separated ones and the dual system, and also each of the council and mayor in charge of different sectors and the government. Maybe what should be maintained and the modified for that is to modify and revise the constitution based on which, using that manual, we also have our Jeju Special Self-Governing Act. That's the same case. So when we want to look at the case of the Seoul metropolitan city or other cities, we cannot see anything. But the UK has have one since 2000, and also they have secondary legislation in Scotland. In that region, sports, culture, and other things, they have their own authority to make their own decisions, which cannot be touched by the central government of UK. In case of the US, they have various types of local government, but everything is overarchingly controlled by the Bill of Rights, based on which the residents can also revise their own law, and the basic and fundamental law to support it is the local government legislation law, under which they can make a decision on their HR management and others. And in large metropolitan cities, although they have strong mayors, but they have, such as Swiss, they have the integrated way of type. When you go to the San Francisco or Los Angeles, they have city court and city prosecution office. So head of the prosecutors, at the same time, they represent the city as a lawyer, under which they have about 100 lawyers who are seeking and controlling the city related affairs. And also in their city capital, they have their own city court. So they can control all the affairs there. So when it comes to the separation of the powers in terms of the city level autonomy, they are in control of those. The same can be applied to the Germany. So I think Germany case, we have our panelists who can share their opinion on that. But what I can say is that they have first point on the integration, but right now they are focusing on the decentralization. For Switzerland, the Zurich is the main city, and it is a city, and it is the basic control tower. The same is applied for Berlin. So Berlin, the mayor is at the same time the governor of the Berlin. So it is the integration of the mayor and the council, but also the small city and the large metropolitan city. They are combined together as an integrated manner. Same can be said about the Paris. The same is happening in other countries in Europe. The Spain is also another case. The Catalonia So people try to escape from this place because of their independence-related campaign, but they don't have the main government, local government yet, but politically they are pardoned, so they are establishing their own local government now. So in Spain, many different areas they have their own local government, in which the natures and characteristics of the organization and the composition of the agencies are all different. So in case of the France, they are really similar with our cases. As an opposition to other European countries, they have unitary system. But if you go into the Corsica, you can go to three different kind of local government you can be under. And also each of the municipalities, they don't have any discriminations. They are equally treated. So we can understand they have horizontal and equal authority and autonomy. As our first speaker mentioned, the commissions and the commissioners, they are participating directly and they decentralize all the powers into different areas. So in summary, the mainstream of the parliamentary and mayor integrated operating system, that is a mainstream, but for professionalism, they have city manager who is controlling the administration and executions, but the HR management and secretariat, they are managed in the integrated manner for the check and balances and for the separation of powers. So we also have to think that as a lesson learned, so we can have our decentralization, and if we have our laws enacted for the decentralization and power of separation, then maybe some of the agencies can participate in and some cannot participate in. And local government in some areas, residents participated in, and they can have consensus and also can be act just like the Jeju Special Self-Governing Act. So which is really related with other things, but it should be simplified and also have to be the control manual. That is a way to go forward. If we can do that, since the colonialism of the Japanese rule in the past and the military coup in the past, there we reflected the systems of the Japan back then. But now we are on our way to go to the global standard to accept and adopt many different types of the local government composition agencies. So thinking about that, I think we are operating something, and the European countries they are more advanced compared to Japan in terms of the local government composition. So we have to think about the home rule and charter rules. And charter, is it just charter? It's more like a constitutions because they are local government. If local government has a charter as their control manual, that means that's their own constitution. So for the basics and the fundamentals of that, in reality, Italia, since the Second World War, they had their own constitution in local government, and I think Jeju Island also have the cases learned from the Selnia and other local government in Italy and Europe. So the Jeju Special Self-Governing Province maybe it can modify and revise some of the rules and the institutions that we have in local government agency composition. Then we can go ahead of other government in Korea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. An, for your presentation. So, your presentation, you talked about the discussion on the diversification of organization composition and necessity, and you compared various cases in Korea and also other countries. And you even came up with a proposal for policies and also how to diversify our local government. As you were aware, the revised Local Autonomy Act has a basis for different forms of organization of a local government, including how to appoint heads of the local government. In particular, the Ministry of Public Administration and Security said it has a plan to establish a separate act on the special act on the form of the local government, which raises our expectation again. Thank you, Dr. An, for your presentation. And next speaker is Mark Chang, legislator of Maryland State General Assembly. Is he joining us online?
Joining Mark Chang Unidad. Hello everyone, I'm Mark Chang. I'm a member of the Maryland House of Delegates and serve as the Vice Chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. I hope everyone is having a wonderful 2021 Jeju Forum. 2021 Jeju Forum is a very important part of having conversations and discussions among policyholders, decision makers, executives, and stakeholders all across the world. So I'd like to specifically thank Kim Young-boom, who is the steering committee chairman. Thank you for his leadership and being able to provide a world-class forum for individuals and people all across the world and partners, and also people from Korea to be able to just share ideas and provide information. Speaking of information, I would like to provide information about the state of Maryland in this video, specifically about the state of Maryland government and how state government works with county government, the municipal government, and also the federal government. The state of Maryland has 6 million people. It has 24 counties or jurisdiction, and the operating budget is $51 billion, and the capital budget is $1.2 billion. And as a member of the House Appropriations Committee, we work on the budget during a 90-day session from January to April. And during that time, in addition to the budget, we also see about 3,000 different bills that range on various topics from education to the environment to social justice to economic reform. And those are the different types of subject matters that we see. But within the 3,000 bills, only a certain percentage of those bills get passed because of timing. The state Maryland General Assembly, the legislatures consisted of the House of Delegates, which I serve in, and also the Maryland State Senate. So the bills that get introduced, they have to pass both chambers. And if they pass both chambers, then they go to the governor for either a signature, which becomes law, or a veto, or the bill doesn't get signed and after a period of time becomes law. The state government, county government, and local government work effectively in serving its people by sharing resources, and also the state government allocates billions of dollars each year to the county and local governments to be able to help with different types of issues regarding education, infrastructure, healthcare, and various other types of programs that effectively share in helping people that we serve. The county government that we are specifically in, the state capital is in Annapolis, and Annapolis is in the county of Anne Arundel County. Anne Arundel County has 500,000 people in its county, and the government structure is consisted of a county council and a county executive. And the county council works on the budget and also various other types of legislation. And the county executive, the administration, implements those matters and those policies that are passed by the county council. And they also administer the programs that are allocated through that budget. The city of Annapolis that we are in right now is consisted of a city council and also a mayor. And those different partners, they work together in serving the city of Annapolis. Now, all those levels of government, they all rely on each other. As mentioned earlier, the state government allocates billions of dollars to the county and local municipal governments. But also, we rely heavily on the federal government. And especially during COVID, the COVID pandemic, we've seen how all branches and all levels of government can work together effectively. During the COVID pandemic, the state of Maryland has received tens of billions of dollars from the federal government to be able to help with various COVID relief programs, from unemployment to safety protocols, to education, to infrastructure, to expanding our technological broadband. These are the programs that have been assisted by the federal government. The federal government, they've released those funds and they've been able to help state government and also county government and also local government. So what happens in Washington, D.C. affects the Main Street people of the local towns and also the broader aspect of the state. So it just shows you how reliant we are and how if we all work together that we can effectively serve the people that we share in serving. But there's oftentimes challenges, and those challenges can be brought about because of lack of communication or miscommunication, or sometimes personalities get in the way, or there's bureaucracy. And our job is to be able to get beyond those obstacles and those hurdles and be able to serve the people more effectively. But Jeju Island and the state of Maryland have many similarities. They're both surrounded by water. For the state of Maryland, we are surrounded on one side by the Atlantic Ocean, and then we also have the Chesapeake Bay. And they are both important environmental resources to our state, both environmentally and economically. And it's important for us to also work with the neighboring states up and down the East Coast to have clean waterways and to protect our environment. And we're working on other measures to also protect our environment in the state and really looking at also ways, for example, as Jeju Island is doing, to help long-term sustainability. The state of Maryland has a lot to be proud of as Korean Americans that live in the state, but also as Koreans worldwide and also Koreans in Jeju Island. The First Lady of the state of Maryland is Korean. She's Korean descent, and we are so proud of her and the work that she is doing in the state of Maryland. It's also being recognized throughout South Korea and also the rest of the world. So there's deep roots and strong Korean influence in the state of Maryland, and we look forward to having a continued strong partnership with Jeju Island and also with South Korea. I wish everyone a wonderful 2021 Jeju Forum, and I look forward to seeing everyone soon. Thank you very much, and 고맙습니다.
Thank you, Legislator Mark Chang, for your remarks. Maryland, a state with a population of 6 million, gave us examples of how the U.S. local governments are run. He said that there are many similarities between Jeju and also Maryland, but we do have differences between us in terms of political system. The last speaker is Onozaki Nobuyuki, head of Yokohama CityNet project in Japan. Is going to deliver presentation on the relationship between the heads of the local government and council cabinet system elements in the dual representation system for the first part of this session.
皆さんこんにちは。私は日本から参加しております。
Yes, I am joining you online from Japan. My name is Onozaki Nobuyuki, head of CityNet Yokohama Project Office. I'm going to talk to you about relationship between the heads of local government and council. In Japan, heads of the local government and council are directly elected by residents, which is a dual representation system. However, we do have some elements drawn from the cabinet system. Before I move on further, let me introduce myself again. As a government official in a city hall of the Yokohama, I have worked for 33 years. I'm not a member of the parliament, and I'm not an expert in political system, so my explanation might not be enough for you, but please, I would like to ask for your kind understanding. I'm joining this session as the head of the CityNet Yokohama project office, so I'm not representing opinions from the administrator side. Let me briefly tell you about the Yokohama city. The population is 3.78 million. In Japan, in terms of the size, Yokohama is the largest among local government. The term of office for the member of the council is 4 years, and we do have 86 member of the council, and we do have a double layer system. As you can see, there are members of the council. The number is 40. And also, the Parliament of Japan is composed of House of Representatives and House of Councillors. And unlike the constituency, like a city and other area, we do have a smaller constituency. Now, let me talk to you about Yokohama. Again, we are city designated by cabinet order. We do have a authority similar to prefecture, and we are in charge of broad administrative affairs, establishing villages, and also management of a river, which is closely related to the livelihood of residents. That's the job given to the city designated by cabinet order. On your right-hand side is the location of Yokohama. So Yokohama is located in the metropolitan area surrounding Tokyo. There are 20 cities like Yokohama nationwide in Japan. So let me compare the political system in Japan. On your left-hand side is the structure of the central government. So the citizens directly elect member of the parliament, and also we do have a parliamentary system that the prime minister is elected by the parliament. So authority-wise, we are co-independent. And also ruling party can produce a prime minister, and then also parliament can pass the legislature on budget or policies to implement policies by the ruling party. On your right-hand side is a political structure of the local government. Members of the council is directly elected by resident, and also the authority over the human resources is owned by the head of the local government, and for the decision made by the head of the local government is being monitored by council. And also the council can also reflect the opinions of the member of the parliament. And the ordinance is enacted by council, and the policies by the council can be reflected upon policies. Next, let me move on to comparison between parliamentary system and dual representation system. Central government adopts a parliamentary system, while local government selects a dual representation system. I better skip this page as I explained to you earlier. Now, let me talk to you about provisions in the Constitution of Japan. This is a legal ground stipulated by the Constitution for dual representation system. According to the Article 93 in Constitution, it says the head of the local government and members of its parliament and other officials prescribed by law shall be elected directly by the residents of the local government. It is similar to the presidential system because of the constitution enacted in 1946, which is affected by the U.S. ruling back then. Before that, the members recommended by the council were also appointed by the head of the local government. So it was no direct election by the resident. It has been more than 60 years since we adopted the dual representation system, and there has no any discussion over the changing the dual representation system. With the consent of the 2/3 of the members of parliament need to agree, and also majority of the citizens need to agree. And in 1946, after the enactment of constitution, there has not been any revision. And now let me talk to you about the relationship between head of the government and also council. It is about general veto and a discretionary disposition between Korea and Japan. Each country has its legal ground. So we do first have discretionary disposition according to the member of the council. Its effectiveness is still valid, but if that is not been approved by the National Assembly in Korea, then it is not effective. It is not valid. And the biggest difference is at the bottom of this table. And when there is a vote for no confidence for the head of the local government, the head of the local government has the right to dissolve the parliament. And let me go deeper about that. For 2 years, from 2016 to 2018, according to the statistics conducted on 1,700 municipalities, there were 7 cases of seven cases for vote for no confidence. In order to prove that, 2/3 of the members of parliament need to attend with the consent of 3/4 of the member of the parliament. And the head of the local government can dissolve the parliament and the new administration. The no confidence can become valid, and the previous head of the local government loses his job. So the conditions are very strict. And in the case of vote for no confidence, still the head of the local government has strong authority to dissolve the council. So it is very, very rare where the local government head loses his position. And now let me talk to you about the relationship between Ainuri and also the national administration. So it is like an electoral tactic where a candidate can run for office recommended by multiple political parties. It is one of a strategy for running office. And on your right-hand side, in the case of 2016, there were 813 elections, and only 4 people were elected, and those 4 people did not have any parties belong to. So without showing the distinctive color of the party, using this Ainori tactic, one can run for office without parties. And it does not reflect the conflicting relationship between ruling and the opposition parties. Under the dual representation system, checks and balance between the two entities are pursued. By adopting the element from the cabinet system, it seems that the Prime Minister has a strong authority, but in effect, Prime Minister needs to consider the parliament, and also the head of the local government cannot only do the check and balance of the council or the head of the local government. They need to consider the position of each other. I hope my presentation helped to understand about the situation in Japan. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
예, 오늘 자키 수장님 발표 감사드리고요.
Thank you for your presentation. And yes, we could understand about different political system, parliamentary system, and dual representation system, and relationship between the head of the local government and also council. And according to the Article 178 Annual Autonomy Act, which is different to Korea, which is something that we do not have. With the presence of 2/3 of the members of the council and the consent of the 3/4 of the members, then we can approve the vote for no confidence in the head of the local government, and we can understand as element of cabinet system or dual representation system in Japan. I think rather the start of this session was a bit delayed, so we better conclude the first part of the session. And I think we better proceed without taking any break because of time constraint. So let me start the second part of the session. So the next speaker is going to talk about institutional measures for Jeju specific council executive integrated system by Professor Kang from the Jeju Law School. Please welcome him with a big hand.
Good afternoon and good evening. I am Professor Kang Joo-young from Jeju Law School. There have been many discussions about the types of the local government composition, so I will only focus on the measures, institutional measures. It's been just a few seconds for me to start commenting it and doing the presentation, but it's already past about 1 minute, so I will make it short. So there are two necessities that we need the composition changes. First is the institutional limitation that we have. Second is a request as the institution itself is changing. So this Jeju special self-governing province, to make it efficiently operated, so we have to have decentralization. There are many discussions. So one is so-called the dubious distinction, so-called imperial governor. So we have to go to the strike a balance. But if it gets stronger, then we will have very consuming conflict itself without any solution. So to overcome all of that, we need a new model. And second, our act itself is totally revised, and it is initiated in 2022. So there we have a set that we can have our own agency compositions of local governments. That is, we have 6 local governments. That means we are really rushing because the Jeju special self-governing government, if we are because we are losing our status, so to make the gap, we have to go forward and take a leading role in the institution and the regulation. So that is some consensus that is requiring now. So as for the composition, looking at the current law, let's look at the constitution. So according to the Article 118, paragraph 2, it says we have our council no matter what, provided the constitution shall not be determined by itself, but shall be comprehensively delegated by law to the organization authority. So according to the enactment and amendment of the Act, we can institutionally be open to the bicameral system and unicameral system. That means legally, we also can have the unicameral system. That is the implication from the Constitution. Let's go to the Local Autonomy Act. One sad part of this is that the intrinsic limitation of the local government is there. It's because it's a local government. That's because in our newly revised constitution, whether it be the local government or local autonomy, it is stipulated as governor, the head of the local government. It's not the superintendent, it's a governor under any circumstances. That means, in other words, people who are sticking to the fundamentals, that means, so here I just missed one word. It's a part of the administration office, but the young researchers these days, they are thinking about the democratic and fair and equal status provided for the local government as well as the central government. But they are taking care of the legislative and administrative things, but their basic nature and the characteristics are the same. So one symbolic gesture for this is that to that effect, for example, all employees of the council secretariats are subordinate to the personal rights of the head of the local government. That means all amendments to the Local Autonomy Act are made by the head of the council. That's current status. As for the Jeju Special Self-Governing Act, we have so-called stronger governor, weaker council than other local government, that is so-called imperial governor authorities. That means when the Jeju Special Act was enacted, Jeju Special Self-Governing Province was designed as a metropolitan government with two legal status and functions. First is to establish and operate the Jeju Special Self-Governing Province, and another is the national project to create a national free city in Jeju Island. So this act itself is a fundamental basis for that. So in order to have our high level of authority as a province and to have the judgment, we have to have very efficient autonomous administrative system. That's why we are concentrating our powers on governor. That's what I'm thinking. And the lack of the municipality here, right? We have about 600,000 people here, but when you compare it to the metropolitan city of Seoul, it's only one district of that. So to have the well-established administration and distriction and everything, that is not necessary. Rather, we have to focus all our powers on governor. That was the initial point. Even so, our provincial life, actually, this single administrative system and uniform organization to realize the purpose and the purpose of the Jeju Special Act has been raised in the face of the demands from the residents to secure the form of the democratic municipality and decentralization. And there has been lots of researches on there. And now we are at the juncture for the change. So in case of the Jeju Special Self-Governing Act, so it is open to the possibility for the council executive integrated system. So for the Jeju Special Act grants decentralized power to the provincial governor. So we can go to the council executive integrated system and administration system, provided one challenge facing this, and one thing that we need to figure out is that thanks to the revision of the Local Autonomy Act from 2022, the government can deviate from the structure of the Local Autonomy Act, which stipulate only mayor-council dual system in organization. One thing that I want to make sure here is that local governments cannot systematically design institutions that fit themselves by the provincial ordinance. It is possible only through laws. I don't know whether it is procedural law or content laws, but as our moderator mentioned, we have one local autonomy act enacted by the Ministry of the Interior and Safety. So in it, it is something that the resident can choose one options of all the different options. So provided, but this is something that we have to choose based on provided by the law. That means it's once again the central will is intervening it. And now I just have 1 minute. So I will just pass all of the slides here and to go to As for the Jeju province, to adopt this integrated system, we have to think about many institutional systems established. But the idea about the decentralization, the concept of it, to realize them, I think we have to think about the constitution. They said the constitution requires local government to have parliament, but we can think about the separate way. In that way, the Seoul and Jeju special province can have more room for intervention. One other thing that we have to focus on is when you look at this integrated system, one thing that is differing from other things, as for the constitution, distinguish the head of the local government from the election of the local councillors by describing term as how to select. So you can make a request to the Ministry of the Interior and Safety for referendum. You can ask, but it doesn't have to do it. Second thing is the referendum itself should be requested by the local government to the Ministry of Interior and Safety. And it is categorized as a referendum for the national policy. It's not about the local government. But when you look at the Local Government Act, it says said that we have to go through the referendum, but that is different from the intention of the Ministry of the Interior and Safety. That means referendum, we can do it, but we cannot even do it. But that is really difficult question because we cannot omit this process. Referendum should be the must. But one problem here is the execution, management, and the control of the referendum. Rather than speaking to the Minister of the Interior and Safety, we have to do it and control it within the Jeju province. And after we getting the result, we can just report it to the minister. That's the way that we can fully use our decentralization power and the power separation. Then we can make our decision on our own. I have spoken a lot. Some of it is included in the proceeding, so you can refer to my proceeding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kang, for your presentation. He suggested that the Jeju Special Act have to reflect a detailed model for the diversification of the local government. And we do have Cha Nam-soo, Chairman of the Council of Jeju Special Self-Governing Council. Thank you. I would like to thank all the chairmen of Council Steering Committee nationwide. Jeju Special Self-Governing province has different characteristics when compared to other councils in Korea. For example, Jeju province is often being criticized that the governor of Jeju has too much authorities. But there are other factors that we have to take into consideration. In the process of revising the Local Autonomy Act in Korea, I hope that the situation of Jeju province needs to be reflected so that it can have a positive ripple effect for other councils. I would like to say that the authority of the members of the council, especially in Jeju, are very strong. When a person wants to purchase a land, that he or she needs to be approved by the council. So Jeju Provincial Council has very strong authority. Without the consent of Jeju Province, there are so many things that are limited and restricted. I think this kind of system needs to apply nationwide in Korea. When we try to make special self-governing province, especially Jeju. Jeju was made as an exemplary model. However, Jeju is remaining as a good example, but it is not applied to other provinces in Korea. I think the Korean central government wants to control all of the councils under their arm. Anyway, I would like to thank chairmen of the Council Steering Committee from other regions. And as we do have a Hee-Ryong-won governor of Jeju province, please deliver your remarks in order to encourage all of the people. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chanamsu chairman.
또 방문을 해주셨습니다.
So we have our governor here. We have a brief moment for him to say hello. I'd like to welcome all of you to come to the 16th Jeju Forum. Jeju Forum has many different topics covering different areas with different participants. Up until now, even if we are the special self-governing province, but we haven't had much opportunities to talk about this. But luckily, we have this session this time, so we can talk about the autonomy and decentralization and come up with the practical knowledge to be shared and to be developed here. I hope this council session to be settled firmly here in Jeju Forum so that we can help the proliferation of the decentralization of the local government. I hope this section go forward. Thank you very much.
예,
Again, I would like to thank the Governor Won and also Chairman Cha. Please give them big hand. Due to time constraints, we better speed up. And with relate to the presentation given, I would like to invite Sang-mi Kim, President of the Research Institute of Local Councils. Please start. Before I start, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Due to time constraints, I would like to summarize what I would like to say. First of all, the topic is the Council Executive Integrated System for Jeju province. Then, let me point out the foundation for that system, which is a constitution, as is mentioned by the speaker. And also, it is well stipulated by the Local Autonomy Act. But one proposes Council Executive Integrated Act, but the act for implementation is also proposing the principle for different system. Why two different? And it depends on who because there is a room for our interpretation rather than Local Autonomy Act. I think those one who wrote the constitution, I think the person fully understand how the local government should be formed. So there's a higher level act. And the second point of my discussion is that our council is the only local council included in the national agenda. Another thing included is Sejong province. Out of 243 councils, the two councils are included as the national agenda. Jeju Special Provincial Province Council needs to be different to that of Sejong. And also, we have to take into consideration that our environmental conditions. So Jeju is the island with the fourth largest number of islands. And also in 2019, 8th of August, the day of the island was designated, and it is the very right time for us to push ahead with this integrated system. As Jeju is designated as the island of world peace, I think we need to make our system to befit the characteristics of Jeju. So I would like to say that it is better for us to put the word peace. And in the world, the Scottish Parliament is the best example of the decentralization. And they use the word parliament, and they are the only parliament which uses the word parliament. And our provincial council needs to establish a model that's equivalent to the model of a Scottish parliament. And thirdly, so Jeju Special Province was established in 2006. Then the one achievement were accomplished by the council. In 2013, Article 14 of the Local Autonomy Act was revised, and it stipulates that the council is a representative entity of the provincial residents. And before the establishment of a council in 2002, the number of council members was 27, but now it is increased to 43. And the government officials is over 40 million, which is increased to 59 million. In order to do the check and balance of the administration, we have to increase the number of council, but rather the representation of Jeju Provincial, the resident is weakened by 6.8 times. And according to the Parkinson rule, the number of government officials in Jeju is meant to increase, but as the entity of a check and balance, in order to do its job right, according to the Article 36, the fixed number of the 43 needs to be increased to 57. And the fourth, Professor Han mentioned, special local government designed by the Local Autonomy Act is more like a dual system, at the same time serving as the member of a council. I think when boundary is different, that can be applied. However, in Jeju, we are a one community. So I think, do we really need a special self-governing province for dual system? I don't think so. So I agree with the opinion by Professor Hong. And last, the 77th item of the national agenda is related to the Jeju Provincial Council. To realize the grassroots democracy is a part of this factor. And as Jeju Provincial Council was established, there are the municipalities, for example, city, kun, and ku council were all abolished. And it can be interpreted as a crisis of local democracy and grassroots democracy. And who needs to come forward? I think the council of the Jeju Provincial Council is the one. And this time, there are Article 25. Citizen Autonomy Committee was abolished in the revised act. In order to promote the citizen autonomy, Unmyeondong municipalities can be operated. That's what he said. So the Citizen Autonomy Committee was established under the Lee Myung-bak administration, but in 2013, as a pilot basis, it was operated, and Jeju Provincial Council needs to restore the Citizen Autonomy Committee. In order to do so, paragraph 2 of the paragraph 2 of the Article 118 of the Constitution needs to be remembered again. In order to use the word autonomy, it says a council should be established in the local government. So paragraph 2 of the Article 118 stipulates the Citizen Autonomy Committee. So as a new approach to restore that, Unmyeondong municipalities autonomy, which existed back in 1950s, need to come back again, and the council also needs to develop ideas on that. Thank you. Thank you, President Kim. Due to time constraints, yes, we better speed up. And next, designated discussant is Tae Kim, the chairperson of the Council Steering Committee.
First of all, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude and thankfulness for the 16th opening of the Jeju Forum. And this is the anniversary of the revival of the local government as well. So here, the Jeju Island, which has the leading role in advancing the institutions for the local government. So I'd like to thank Mr. Kim for your outstanding support and cooperation. So this Jeju self-governing cities, the province, so we have had the police system and also international schools and Jeju autonomous schools. Not only that, the Jeju province taking the leading role to have the regional land management office and 2030 carbon-free island vision as well. There have been lots of provisions, but for diversification about the type of the local government, I'd like to provide my full support for taking this and taking the initiative about talking about the type of the local government. So I propose and I prepared this discussion panel, but you can refer to this proceeding, but I will just jump to my conclusion. So I fully agree with the representation of the two presenters, especially the changes in the landscape of local government situation. The change is real, and I really concur your opinion. And right now, it is really strongly imperative for us to collect the opinion of the residents. And also, in the presidential system, we are having the local government 2.0 system for leading that initiative. Thank you again for your support, and especially the Professor Kang. The organization special case, which was the peculiar case of the local government as Jeju self-governing province, which was revised, and we are now losing that status. But now, for the sake of the protection of the quality of life of the residents, I fully support your idea for the integrated system to go forward in the local government. No one can deny of those necessity. And this is the first and foremost realization of the local government. We have to go forward. And once again, Jeju Island is a perfect model to create its own local government. We have the unicameral system, and for the past 10 years, we had many trials and errors to strengthen the local government. That's why, based on that trial and errors, and we can now realize the successful model as a leading role. And also, you mentioned the decentralization model. I also fully support that idea as well. And taking this opportunity, I want to say for the past 30 years, among the achievement that we have achieved so far, what I want to mention is the changes in the big institutions, the central government, rather than just have just one event of support, rather we have many gradual achievement that we have achieved. We have free meal service and also eco-friendly act and also the allowance for the youngsters. These are the things not initiated by the central government, rather that was led by the will of the local government in Jeju Island. That's why the integrated system, if it is initiated, can be the one role model that other local government in Korea can look up to and follow. So the national local government, we are trying to have our subsidies as well. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to propose two things. First, the party system in Korea, we are only recognize the official parties. the central parties. But now I think we also have to have local parties. Albeit it's not fully recognized, just like the case of the Japan, I think the provincial parties or in other forums should be created to talk about that possibility. Second, one common idea among professors commented here the changes in the public servant. We had the agreement based system. That means auditor or audit office. That was a starting point based on which we have adopted various kind of auditing system which were very successful. One is flexible public servant system can also be adopted by our detailed and deep discussion. That should be something that we have to also think about when we think about the integrated system. And let me finish my remarks here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson Kim. You said that Jeju is a good example of decentralization. Thank you. And also, you talked that innovating our province as an integrated system would bring about spillover effects nationwide. And yes, our expectation is high for that. Let me turn to the next discussant. Min-gu Chung, Vice Chairman of Jeju Special Government.
Good afternoon. I'm Jung Min-gu. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here, especially to the Young-bum Kim, the chairman of the Council Steering Committee. Personally, since the starting point of the Jeju Local Autonomy Council, from the starting point, actually, the starting point was kind of rough and wrong. And what was argued by the President No back then was let's give all the autonomy and the right to the Jeju province so that they can do on their own. But the decentralization, along with that, it has another purpose that is international free city. That's why we had this act that is saying that the act to establish for establishment of the international free city. That's why we have really rough patches and we have something lost in the middle. That's very unfortunate. Now, even we are going forward, we have scrapped the municipality system. So after initiating the local economy autonomy provincial system, there are lots of social costs spent and lots of discussions and oppositions on this. That is the situation we are at. And the discussants and the speakers, I fully agree with your idea. Based on that, I want to make a few points. First, we are saying about the imperial governor. There's no other way to explain it but that. Because all the decisions are made by the only person that we have, that is Governor One. It's not about the Governor One. It's if anybody is a governor of the Jeju Island, then he or she should be the imperial person. That's why, in terms of the authority and in terms of the autonomy, among the seven local government heads, the governor of Jeju province, he is the one with the most power with him. That's why we're talking about the decentralization in this session. Second, about the referendum. For the first time, back in 2005, we hold we held the referendum for the local autonomy and also local government to have the four different types of the local government. So back then, I had many studies about that and try to promote the idea, but I lost against the one selected. That's why we are here now with the situation. But we're trying to change the system itself. But the authority of referendum is not on the governor, it's on the Minister of the Interior and Safety. That's the challenge we have, and that's really problematic. That's why I fully agree with the presenter today. And as the Sang-mi Kim, the president of the Research Institute of Local Council, mentioned, I was the head of the administration in the first half of the year, and all the power and the authorities were transferred to us from the central government. So I naturally believed that all the local governments in Korea, they have their own groups and the other municipalities and the autonomy of the residents. But that is the only thing that Jeju province has. And that is just before sending the bill to the National Assembly. So we have the grassroots authority. So we try to give more authority to the residents' autonomy group, and it is inserted one of the proposals in the bill that is already submitted to the National Assembly. If it is passed, then Jeju province should be the only local government among other local government in Korea in which have autonomous residents a group who has their own authority to make decisions. So since 2006, I had a dream of provincial party to be established and be part of the party-based political system. And in terms of the discussion about the local government type, in a narrow sense, it is about integrated part or the dual system or participation of the residence based or the counselor based system. So it's more in a large sense is the centralization and the decentralization. So that is the approach that we have to take, the level of the centralization of the power. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ming-Gu Chang, Vice Chairman. This concludes the key presentation and also designated discussion. With related to what we have presented, it's time for us to engage in discussion. Is there anyone who would like to raise a hand and also give your opinion? Due to time constraint, I think we can have only time for a couple of questions. If there's no one, then I better wrap up this session. Again, I would like to thank 5 presenters and discussants. Not only that, I would like to thank all the participants here today, and we are going to organize what we have discussed here, and we are going to review further to develop the ideas shared today. As you gave us your precious opinions, I think building consensus and also implementing policies according to that is a key takeaway message of today's session. Again, let me turn my microphone to moderator.
토론자님께 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. Please give a big round of applause.